All right. Hi, my name is Ed, and welcome to the Nuggets for Life show. We are here to bring you experiences of life, to leave you with wisdom and a lot of experiences. Probably it's something you usually go through and you don't know how to dissect it or understand it. Together with me here is my cousin, Wachori. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Say hi to these guys, man.
What's up, everyone?
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be a guest here today.
Exactly. You're most welcome. Today we want to deal with a life of a child. And not just a life of a child, but when a child is born as an infant and grows up. We want to start with this thing that we usually experience when I hold infants. What is this heartbeat out here? Because the child is so fragile, the infant is so fragile, and I don't know what to do with him or her. The only thing I can do is just hold.
Yeah. See, when a baby is born, they're coming out of a mom's womb through the cervix. For that head to be able to go through there, the skull is not chicaned. It overlaps for the baby to come out. Right? Overlaps.
Yeah.
That's why when you see a brand new baby, they look off. They look funny. Because the skull is now going back to its shape, alafu inaanza kushikana. Now that heartbeat you're talking about, ikianza kushikana hivi, it's at the back over here. Ndio inabiti hivi, juu haijashikana yet, inaenda ishikane.
The skull.
Okay. The skull itself. Na eventually, itaenda ishikane na inyo ka heartbeat kataisha.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point in a child's life, it's very important that you don't shake that baby. It's called shaking baby syndrome. It's very important that you don't. And kids cry. That's the order of children. We love them. They're yours. They're life. But that crying can really drive you crazy. And you're like, nyamaza. When you do this, akifanya hivyo, hiyo kichwa kitingisha, brain yake inadansia kwa skull. Hivi.
Wow.
Hivi. That's why it's very important not to shake your baby because they're crying. If that crying, gets to you, you're aggravated, walk away. You've changed the diaper, you've checked the temperature, they have eaten, nothing is wrong with the baby, they're still crying, walk away. Walk away, why? First of all, when you're frustrated, you're likely to do something you're going to regret, right? Secondly, this child needs to know how to self-soothe eventually. Okay. Self-soothing is, they need to learn to regulate their own emotions. Na nyamaze. Ndio maana unaonanga mtoto akilia unamshika. Sasa hutawahi muacha. Anaenda kuwekwa chini analia, ulimzoesha mikono. Mimi tunasemanga, niamenya ile moko, ni alizoea mikono. Wacha ajiself-soothe, azoe kulia na kunyamaza peke yake.
Yeah.
Umeona kitu inaitwa pacifier. Wengine ni pacifier walipatiwa. Kama wewe mtoto hana hiyo pacifier, hakuna peace. Hakuna peace. Hata gari itastopiwa on the highway tutafuta hiyo pacifier. You need to let your child learn how to self-soothe. No, it's not being mean. It's just helping a child grow into themselves.
Okay.
An infant, for that matter.
That's good. Now, I know that. So, how does an infant's brain start developing, start growing? What happens from probably day one to probably the first 1 year? What usually happens?
So, a child is born blank, right?
What do you mean by blank?
Blank, hajui kitu. The first time macho zake zinafungua, hata hajui hii ni light. Anaona tu kitu. Anaanza kuona shadows. The way they progress, by the time they're 6 months, at least their vision, they're able to see colors, they're able to see faces, they're able to see objects. But akizaliwa siku ya kwanza, they could not even make out of what that is.
Okay.
So as time is going, by the time they are a year, ameanza ku recognize faces, ameanza ku recognize sounds, but niju brain yake imedecode. Ni kama imepata dictionary. Is dictionary the right word? Ni kama imepata a depository, that's a word. Imepata depository hizi vitu. Inaenda kijiongeza na ina build on top of each other.
Okay.
Ina build on top of each other. So akona hardware. Unaona hardware iko kwa kichwa.
Imeanza kuform.
Yes. Inaenda tu ikiongezeka. Now, when kids are really small, their brain is growing at a very fast rate. The neurons are the structures that enable the brain to function properly and they communicate. They send messages to the brain from the body and from other parts, right? So they send the messages. Those ones are so many. They grow so fast.
Okay.
Every memory that you have, every new experience that you have forms a new memory. And every new memory forms a new neuron with a new schema. So that, and the more you form new memories, the more the brain grows.
Okay.
So during that first year, hiyo brain ya huyo mtoto inaenda. That's why you see they were born not knowing anything, but by the end of the year they are walking, they are queuing, they are saying mama, they are saying dada, right?
So the brain
has
is
learned
what okay.
you feed it. It's literally what you feed it. What it sees, it's absorbing and keeping.
Yeah.
And then it's not only keeping, but it's growing that previous memory.
Okay.
So ikaona huyu mwanamke
Okay.
ana smelling hivi, huyu ni mama yangu.
So they have a sense of smell.
Ameona hiyo smell na huyu ameassociate hiyo smell ni ya mama yangu. Na huyu mwanamke anakujanga, hii sura inakujanga ni huyo mwanamke ananuka hivi. Then huyu mwanamke ananuka hivi, ni yeye mama yangu. Then kuna huyu mzee anakujanga paka kwa bedroom tuko sisi peke yetu. Ananukanga hivi. Na napenda akinishika. Huyu ni dad. It keeps developing.
Okay.
Right? Until by the end of 1 year, they have gone through all the emotions. They've been able to coo, say then they started saying words. They have gone from not being able to support their head. They've been able to support their head. They've been able to sit up. They've been able to stand with things, to walking with things. By the time they are, let's say, 14 months old, they are walking and they are saying words that are complete and they can make sense.
14 months old.
14 months old, right?
Okay.
And that it is very important to expose children to things. In our African culture, we think it's very uzungu. Ni uzungu. Ukiona watu
something like what?
Like unapatianga ABCD,
okay.
Unapatia colors, unawacha watch cartoon. It's very important because inafanya brain yake igrow haraka, na the more ina grow haraka, the more ina form hizo schemas and the more ana absorb more information.
Okay. So are you trying to say, although hapa nimeenda mbele kidogo, like if I want my child to learn French, nafaa kuanza kumu expose to that language when she or he is young?
Yeah, it's good. You see, language is a combination of sounds and letters.
Yeah.
So what the brain will do, it will hear the sounds and then it will associate the letters. They see the letter, they see this is an S, and then the sound that comes from it is or sh, whichever it is, right?
Yeah.
They see this is a what? This is a K, and the sound that comes from it is a K. So they will listen to the mother talking. If it's Kikuyu, they will learn the intonations, they will learn the dips and the ups, they will learn the tones. Na ile siku ataanza kuongea, ataanza tu kuongea kama wewe.
Okay.
All this time amekuwa amenyamaza, amekuwa kitik. Hizi anazirecord. But juu hajapata hiyo ability ya kuongea, hawezi ongea yet. But iko hapa. Hata uta notice mtoto ana get frustrated, anajaribu kukuambia kitu. Na wewe ushikanishi nini anasema? Hizi words anasema ushikanishi, but mtoto mpaka analia, ana throw tantrums, anagonga kitu. Juu anakuwa frustrated, ana try to communicate na wewe na ushikanishi. The best thing ni kuambia wa mtoto point for me. Point, anakushika mkono anaenda nakupeleka kwa drawer. Amba drawer, it's called a drawer. Anakushika nakupeleka kwa fridge. Unafungua fridge, anakuonyesha juice. Unaambia it's called a fridge. This
so
is called
it registers.
It registers in the child's brain.
Okay.
That's why you need to encourage them to be themselves, to express themselves. As much as it's frustrating, provide an environment where they can trust you to be easy to communicate that.
Okay. Now, assuming a child can speak, can talk, can mumble stuff, can really speak.
Yeah, has developed now to a point where they're able to speak.
Yes. And now, amefanya kitu mbaya na umemwadhibu ama unataka kumwadhibu. How should that process be? Instead of just kuchukua tu slipo ama kijiti ama mwiko and flog her probably softly, how should one make a child that I'm disciplining you with understanding?
Kumbuka, tunaongea kuhusu mtoto mdogo, mtoto mchanga. Mtoto amefika kama miaka 5, hata pengine hajaanza kuelewa right and wrong. Ako tu na idea na it's right and wrong kwake, juu mama amesema ni right na ni wrong. Si ati yako na capability ya kuunderstand ni right and wrong. So ukidecide umuadhibu, kumbuka unaadhibu mtu hata haelewi unamuadhibu kwa nini. So ukidecide unamchapa, the same hands that you use to love them should not be the same hands that you use to hurt them.
Okay.
So don't use your bare hand, your bare palm to adhibu your child. Get a slipper, get a mwiko, chapa. Na sisemi uwe. There's a balance between discipline and abuse, right? Sisemi uwe. Here's what happens. These first years of development, a child attaches to their caregiver in the way that a caregiver treats them. Let me give you examples. In psychology, we call it attachment theories.
Okay.
If a parent, says thank you, says sorry, says excuse me, this child will learn to say thank you, sorry, excuse me, because it's been modeled to them.
Yeah.
Right? If a parent says, in the evening when I come from work, I'll bring you your chocolate unataka, ama your toy unataka, ama ile kitabu unataka, ama whatever, I'll bring you. Ukikuja jioni unamletea. Ama kama hukumletea, una address, I promise, but today I was not able to do it, I'll see what will happen tomorrow. Yeah. Huo mtoto ana trust mzazi wake kuleta hiyo kitu amesema. So umefunza hiyo mtoto trust. Mzazi mwenye alipromise na hakuja jioni na hakuongea hiyo story, hata mtoto akibring up anasema unanisumbua, unafikiria pesa ione chuno kwa miti. African parents, kwanza Kenyan parents, besha shikitwa kwa metini tudi na bebe ila wone, mwanoshori. What happens, huo mtoto ataogopa kukuuliza hiyo story, hana trust na wewe, anakuwa anxious, even ana decide atakuwa na kuangalia uko na mood inakaa aje leo.
Yeah.
Kama uko ina happy mood na kuongelesha, kama uko ina happy mood na achana na wewe. Kuna watoto wengine wana decide baadaye asikuongelesha na achana na wewe. How a child attaches is based on the parents' parenting.
Okay.
So there are two major ones. There's secure attachment and there's insecure attachment. Secure attachment is when a child you keep the promises, you say sorry, you say thank you, you have those conversations. I'm not saying omotoni. I'm not saying you spoil them, because spoiling them is beats the purpose. You'll end up destroying them.
Yeah.
I'm saying being good with them, being real with them. Actually, that's the word, being real with them.
Okay.
Now, as opposed to insecure attachment. So there are three. One is that anxious one. Then anashuka, leo kuna mood inakaje. Hiyo mtoto attach anxiously. Anxiously meaning kuna ile siku kuna mood mzuri anakukwamilia. Hakuachili. Kesho ukikuja tu ugodhoki ogwo, mtoto ameenda amejifungia bedroom utamuona. Alafu atakuwa na kuogopa. The other one is withdrawn. Mtoto ana realize, by the way, huyo mzazi hanitaki, nikana namsumbua. See, the best thing ni achane na yeye.
Okay.
Mtoto anakuondokea. Mtoto ukikuja hali ukienda, hafurahi ukirudi home, unashangaa ni nini? Because normally children will cry when the caregiver leaves and they'll be very happy. They'll even be a little bit mad, uliniacha, mbona uliniacha, but now I'm happy you're home. Mtoto hana emotions, ako tu hapo. That's an insecurely attached child. And what will happen? Because that's the basis of how they form relationships. Yeah. That's how they'll have relationships for the rest of their lives.
Okay.
So they're here as teenagers, they're here as young adults. They can't keep friends with their own sex. They can't keep friends with their special mates.
No socialization.
They're not able to relate with people at work. They're not able to relate with persons in authority. Okay. Because this caregiver was a person in authority, and because there was no good interactions, they'll remodel that in all their relationships. Yeah. So their working relationship, their intimate relationship. It is very important that how you treat a child at that developmental stage.
And specifically, we're talking about from age?
From 1 all the way to 8. Those years are very important. So that's the basis of behavior, by the way. Vile unatreat mtoto hujui kwamba unamfunza behavior.
So if I'm getting you right, you're trying to say that particular age, the children relate to you with feeling wise. I don't know the right word to.
They're very emotional.
They're very emotional.
They're very emotional because how the brain is structured, the frontal lobe is this part behind the forehead right here. The frontal lobe is the one that's involved in executive functioning, which includes reasoning and planning. Yeah. Fully develops at the age of 24.
Okay.
But there's another part back here. It's called the limbic system. The limbic system is the one that takes care of emotions, and it's the first one that develops. Okay. So a child will always, the way they think is emotional.
All right.
Than critical. Yeah. It's emotional than reasoning.
And we remember the brain is still growing up.
It's still growing.
It's not yet mature.
Growing. It's not mature.
Yes.
So everything that they do will be very passionate. Unapata mtoto kimkanyanga iwe dalia. Akijama nagongesha kila kitu. Ama na decide you've seen children who say I'm moving out and pack vitu huko sikai hata hajui kule anaenda because they are very emotional because the executive functioning has not developed. So it's the emotional part that's dealing. And as they continue to grow up, now past 8, by 8 of course mtoto anajua wewe ni nani. By the way kitu yoyote mzazi unasema is the gospel truth by 8. But akianza kuingia 10 hapo anaanza kukuquestion na kukurida. Na si ulisema hii na hii. Na mbona leo umefanya kitu opposite na kile ulisema? Unaanza kushtuka kwa mzazi, mtoto ananiuliza nini? Ameanza kugrow. Ameanza kupata personality yake.
Okay.
Ameanza kusema sipendi hiyo, napenda hii. Unambaia kitu anakuambia hiyo sio yangu, sidhani unanijua kwanza mama. Maswali zingine zinakupias.
So nini ina happen kwa brain now that the change has come when we have shifted from 8 to 9? What has happened to the brain to make the child now realize I can do decision for myself? Okay, decision for myself.
So the executive functioning has started developing.
Okay.
Has started developing. Remember when they were kids, what was there was the emotional one. Hapa kwa ameanza kugrow. Unajua kichwa kiendelea kugrow, unaona the gray matter inaanza kugrow, the lobes start growing.
Okay.
Sasa hii imeanza kugrow na imeanza kushika. Sasa anaanza kurealize but then I can do what I want. I can do what I want. But bado the emotional part is still heavier.
Yeah.
But ameanza kufikiria, ameanza kujielewa, ameanza kujijua, ameanza kujikubali.
Alright.
Okay? Tunapita hapo. Anaingia teenage. Akiingia teenage, by this time foundations zake ziliform akiwa preteen, akiwa between 9 and 10. If she decides I don't like alcohol, that sticks. I don't like alcohol. If she decides or he decides I'm going to try out alcohol, in teenage they have decided I'm trying out alcohol, but that decision has not been made when they are teenagers.
Okay.
It was made in that preteen. That's when they form the principles and the values that they go through life with.
Okay.
So when they're getting into teenager, now they are living these values, and that's why you cross so much with them, aside from the emotions that they're having and the hormones that they're messing with. Because in preteen, puberty starts setting in, and then now in teenage is when puberty is in. There are all these hormonal changes, all these things are happening, and it's such a funny space. They are not a child, they are not an adult. Then sometimes they want to be a child, sometimes they want to be an adult, but then they are not, depending on what they'll gain. If it's candy, I'm a child, give me candy. But if it's do something, no, I'm not a child, that's not, no.
Okay.
They switch, but it's confusing for them. So the best thing you can do for them as a caregiver or as a parent is be the voice of reason in their lives. Let them bounce off things with you, but that will only happen if you have a good relationship with them. And the good relationship does not happen in teenage. The good relationship happens preteen and lower. So if you have a parent and you want to have a very good relationship with your teenager, at teenage is not the time to form that relationship.
Okay.
You form that relationship when they're preteens and when they're younger. That's when you make time. Unaona vile a Kenyan parent, mtoto at least sisi, ukikosea, mzazi anakuita, hata ungejistaki. Unajistaki uuliwe. Yeah. Na ukijistaki hivi ama akikujia, yani zile macho umerushwa, lidhori ya Hawaii. Umerushwa jicho, hata uwezi ongea. That's not how we do it now. Because you see the reaction right here tells this child I can talk to my mother or not. But what I say is freeze your outside. Let your inside turmoil, scream all you want in the inside. Don't get nervous on the inside, but on the outside, freeze. Then when you calm down, now talk to your child. Because what that does, it shows your child you're approachable.
I want to interject a bit. I think it's not a fact, but I think watu age yetu probably and behind, we have much attachment to probably mothers for males and vice versa for females. Do you want to say that it's at that particular age where the relationship between parents and the children should be really tight, so that the children don't take sides, that they are so much attached to their moms if they're males, and the girls are attached to their fathers when is it a natural thing?
It's a natural thing, and it doesn't start when they're teenagers. It starts when they're kids. There's something called envy that kids go through when they're like age 5, 8 hapo.
Envy.
Yeah, there's an envy where the boy relates to the mom and the girl relates to the father.
Okay.
And they feel this other parent is taking away this person I love.
Oh.
It creates at that age.
Okay.
And that's why, that's a theory by Eric Erickson that he says that's what happens. But as they grow older, they realize, okay, they're just parents. But because that attraction came early, it has sustained through the years. It is possible that you'll still be now with one of the parent than the other. But you see, it's not on the child to make this relationship work. It's on the parent.
It's on the parent.
And unfortunately, as parents, we don't know because that's not how we were raised.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have to make a deliberate decision that you'll do parenting different from how you were raised.
Okay.
Very deliberate, very consciously.
Mm-hmm.
Because you will find yourself being your mother and you have to pull back and say, I'm not being my mother. I'm going to do parenting differently.
Yeah, differently.
And when you do that, you have to put in effort. And effort means you have to talk to this child of yours. You have to say sorry. You have to say thank you. Even, remember, you're not doing this for your satisfaction. No. God gave you this child to raise for only 18 years.
Yeah.
And if you don't prepare them for the world, you have failed. So you need to prepare them for the world, not for you. You are saying sorry so that they learn to say sorry.
And on that point, when should a parent start saying sorry?
When the child is small. Because if you don't model behavior, a child will not learn that behavior.
So are you saying the same thing that when it comes to life skills, for example, when should I expose my child to life skills? Apart from, let me give you an example. I was brought up and I grew up in church. Even if you ask my father and my mom today, I used to cry that I want to go to church, even if it's on a Monday, because that was the life. And when it comes to balancing, a child knows God, but you want also to expose him or her to some other stuff. What you see her doing, probably she touches stuff, she dismantles everything, so that you're able to understand, oh, my child, probably she'll become or she'll become or he'll become. When are we supposed to bring that balance and exposure to them?
Yeah. All children grow up differently, but you'll start seeing that your child is able to understand things, right?
Yeah.
They're able to understand, they're able to express themselves. You can tell huyu IQ yake imefika wapi, EQ yake imefika wapi, emotional intelligence yake imefika wapi. But basically, by the time they are 10, 11, 12, you will tell. Huyu ni artistic, huyu ni scientific, you will tell. And at teenage, Eric Erickson talks about at teenagehood is where a child figures their identity.
Yeah.
And if they don't figure out their identity, they have role confusion. They are confused. Who am I?
Can you say that again?
Yes. They either get their self-identity or role confusion.
Okay.
They become confused because they don't understand themselves. So life skills are best learned at teenage years.
Which is age?
Teen. 13 to 19.
To 19, okay.
Right? In those years, you hear parents saying, make your teen busy, make your teen busy. They need to be occupied. Because when they're not occupied, remember, hormones are up, executive function is not in, they will do risky things, passionate things.
To the extreme.
So you need to keep them something that holds them down.
Okay.
And these things that hold them down, use what they love. If they love soccer, put them in a soccer team.
Okay.
What will they learn in soccer? Responsibility, time management. Give them allowances and tell them, I want to see what you invested. Show them Mshwari. The Mshwari, they are buying bonds. Teach them how to buy bonds. Why? At this point in time, you need to teach them how to make money, how to spend money, and how to invest that money.
Yeah.
You need to teach them how to manage their own time without, like now, coronavirus. Kids are home. They wake up at 10, watch TV until 8, and go to sleep at 3. What are you teaching them? They need to manage their time so that even when they are alone, akiona hajasoma, akiona hajaosha nyumba, hata yeye anafeel mbona nyumba iko na uchafu na nimeketi hapa. You need to help them develop those life skills for themselves.
Okay.
And helping them is not telling them. It's not telling them. At teenage, these kids forget just how the brain is. If you don't use a neuron, it dies off. So they'll forget stuff. So you need to create structure for them by telling them, be support and a voice of reason. If it means have a timetable, have a timetable. If it means you're going to take them to a program, take them to that program. Okay. Create structure so that they learn these life skills, so that they identify who they are, what their limits are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and the like.
Let's talk of disciplining the teenagers. How should parents do it?
I wouldn't advise at this point to beat them. Punishment that will be corporal. I wouldn't advise that.
Okay.
Because at this age, this child can tell what is right and wrong. At this stage, a child is starting to understand the consequences. Remember, you're teaching life skills?
Yeah.
The consequences of their actions. When you beat them up, they feel pain. It's pain. It has no consequence. Unlike when they were small. When they were smaller, pain was the worst thing they ever wanted to hear. And so that they don't feel that pain, they'll do what you're saying. But now, you want to instill discipline in them. Remember, it's not just disciplining them, but you want to instill discipline.
Yeah.
So I would advocate for take what is important to them. Their phones are very important and their tabs. Take them away. Something new they were supposed to get, don't buy it. They were supposed to go see someone, they don't go. Because those ones, at teenage, the most important thing to a teenager is their friends. Those things that have to do with their friends. As a parent and family members, you fall back, and everyone the only important thing is their friends. That's where you strike. Si uchungu, it won't work. Because then again, you're beating someone who is big, right? If you show them discipline is kuchapa, they learn that discipline is kuchapa. So what happens when they go to school? They collide with someone, anachapa.
That's the way they do.
And in the job, someone, anachapa. And in the kukunywa, which happens, anachapa. The next unaitwa your young adults is in jail. But ni wewe ulimfunza discipline kuchapa bila kujua.
At this stage, assuming now we are at age 19. This is an adult per se. And I remember tulianzia tukasema reasoning kwanza inakuanga very far when the brain is forming. At this 19th age, how is the brain formation? Is it mature or where are we now?
It's much better.
Okay.
It's actually quite much better than when they were a kid, but it's still not completely formed.
Okay. So at least they can start reasoning for themselves as much.
But still they'll have that inclination where there's emotional stuff, there's risk taking.
Yeah.
They still don't have the presence of mind to be like, they'll be like, this and this will happen, but tufanye iko nini, YOLO, you only live once.
Yeah.
Because they still have an inclination where they need to do risk. It's telling them to do risky behavior, even though they can see the good and the bad out of it. Even though they can reason it out, there's still this inclination. There's still not a complete balance between the two.
So what happens when now the brain is all grown, is mature, and at what age? What continues after?
So at 24, 25 is when it's supposed to fully mature. Again, I said development is very different for different people. But that's the general age where that will happen. And at that age, you'll find now they're starting to see reason. They're starting to be like, what am I doing with my life? What career do I want to do? They're starting to date. Eric Erickson says at this stage is where they form intimacy or isolation.
Explain intimacy.
Intimacy, I don't mean in just romantic relationships, but that's where they learn how to have relationships.
Okay.
With
people,
colleagues, with co-workers, with their family, with their parents. But most importantly, this is when they start feeling, hey, maybe one day I want to have kids, maybe I want to have someone I call my special person, maybe. But if you did not form these skills when they were growing up, they'll have a very hard time relating. Like us guys, I was also born in church, and I was making this joke where the girls, we were told, don't talk to men. So any man that talk to you, ananitaka. You just run to ananitaka.
Yeah.
You didn't have the skills to form normal relationships with men, right? Yeah. And if you don't have that, you can't keep friends. You can't keep a job. You can't keep, because you don't know conflict resolution. You don't know how to negotiate. You don't know how to say sorry. You don't know how to take initiative. Because you are told if you take initiative, you're too easy. There are things that you are taught, and this is when you need to relearn them to have the skills set for this stage. If you don't learn, then unajipata uko solo, unapata friend, mnaenda siku 2, 2 months, 6 months. Huwezi muongelesha na ujui ni nini, but ukiangalia the last 5 years, hakuna birthday umeweka consistently.
Okay.
Now it makes sense. Who you thought you're cool, you thought you're good, you're fun. In fact, you're fun. In fact, you're a good human being. But you can't keep friends. And you're wondering what's up. It's because that skill has not been harnessed, has not been honed, and you need to hone it.
Wow. I have one last question, because this is the first series, so we'll continue after this. Two adults have come together. They're aged 22 or 23. They're in love and they want to get married. They have it. Their brains, as we have said, they have not really matured per se. What do you think will be the awaiting danger ahead in terms of immaturity of their brains, so the reasoning capacity, decisions, and all that?
Let me start by saying this. When our parents were growing up, it was such a different age from the age we're living at now. They didn't have internet, they didn't have all these liberalities that we have today. Today, a lady who is 24 might even be doing well than you, which was not the case back then.
Sure.
Right? So back then, it was very easy to sustain a marriage because the woman was going to stay home, take care of the kids, and listen to her husband. Today, the case is very different.
Yeah.
This person probably is doing better than you. This person has all these eyes looking at them. This person is even doing things maybe you don't encourage.
Yeah.
But most importantly, this person does not understand themselves fully. They think they have an idea of who they are, but if you project and ask, what do you want to be, in detail, they don't know.
They don't know.
They're still trying to chart that path for themselves.
Yeah.
And chances are, unless they want to, they want to be mothers, yeah, but beyond mothers, you want to be a father beyond being a father. Because the time is going to come when you just don't want to be a father. What else will you be?
And I also believe there will be a challenge, especially when it comes to raising kids.
Yes. So if you don't understand yourself,
wow,
right? If you're finding you're acting in ways that you cannot explain, you can't keep friends. You can't listen to authority. You don't love yourself. Let me give you this nugget. The verse that says that you love people as you love yourself. We always think that you need to love yourself first and then love others. But look at it at the flip. That how you love others is a reflection of how you love yourself. That's deep. If you're very tough on people because that's how you were raised, you need to be tough, that's how you're tough on yourself. Right? And if you're super harsh on yourself, you don't love you. You need to allow yourself to mourn. You allow yourself to be happy. You allow yourself to fall so that you pick yourself up, to fail so that you have an opportunity to learn. Right? So if you're 24, you've never failed at anything.
Wow.
When you're 24 and you've never made anything out of yourself, how do you know you to go love someone else? Worse still, to raise a child. You are a child to raise a child. Okay, you're not a child, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For me, I'd advocate that you wait.
Yeah.
That's my advocate. I would advocate that you wait until you're past 24, past 25. Because there's so many things that come with, you're still, honest to God, you're still trying to figure out who are you? What are you doing with your life? You already have stressors on your day-to-day. Then you add a husband or a wife with the same stressors, exact same set of stressors, and then you add children. Isn't that a recipe for disaster?
Awaiting.
Right? And you'll do the best you know how to, but you don't know. You honestly don't know.
Yeah.
Then later is when you're like, wow, I should have handled that situation differently, but you didn't know. So I'd say, no pressure, take your time.
Enjoy life.
Grow into yourself, explore, learn, travel, see different cultures, see different things before you decide this is what you're doing. And that's why today the divorce rate is so high. It's so high. It's painfully high. Because when you get into marriage, you're not trying, at least for me, you don't envision that you will go and it will fail and you do. That's not what you want.
Yeah.
Take your time. I'm not saying it can't happen, even when you can give it your best shot. But stop rushing. Stop rushing. Even get married on your 40. But you understand what you're getting yourself into. And I think that's the issue. We don't understand what we are getting ourselves into. We've been raised that marriages are beds of roses. They are not. They are beds of work.
It should be changed, right?
Right? They are beds of work. Yeah. And because we don't know that, we don't have that forethought. Even back in the day, we used to have proper premarital counseling. We used to have proper best couples. Today is my buddy. who is not married, who happens more than I happen, and they're the ones advising me on my marriage.
Awesome.
How is that going to work for me? It's not the best thing. I'll just say chill. Allow yourself to grow. Be comfortable in your own skin. Let your mate be comfortable in their own skin. Then I don't think you'll ever be 100% ready, but at least get to 75%, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say that, I don't mean haha. Here you can be even ready at 21. But I mean up here.
Exactly.
And it's not only important to be ready mentally, it's also important to be ready emotionally, right? Sometimes the things that happen up here will trigger certain kind of emotions down here. And if you cannot reconcile those two, trust me, you're not ready. Because you need to reconcile them. You can't decide to think with here or just with here. You need to think with both. And if you can't reconcile that, you're not ready.
Wow. I see there's a lot for us to learn.
Absolutely.
They usually say monkey see, monkey do. So parents, to become parents or want to be parents, there's a lot to learn from this.
Guardian, you know.
Yeah,
you're a big brother.
Yeah.
You know, you're an auntie, you're a cousin.
Yeah.
You've adopted someone. Even how older siblings treat their younger siblings. There are things that you're doing that could be hurting that small person on its own.
We're in a different dispensation where we have to do things differently from probably how we were raised up. And so it's our time to make the difference from now on how we raise ourselves up and even our children.
Absolutely.
And the people who are looking over us. We are coming back for the next episode.
Hey, call me. I'll be right here.
Grace here. Look forward to catching up with her later. Thanks for
having
coming.
me. That was fun.
That was fun too. Peace out.